Hi, I am currently in the process of leaving my home. I am leaving for the big city next week. And so I guess by the time I'm able to post another video, I will be up there instead. And I will be staying with friends until I get my life together. But even when I do find a place of my own, I will not be bringing any of the work that I've done in college for the past 5 years. I kind of want to close it as a chapter in my life and move on to things that are more fulfilling and mean more to me. I still love this work. I'm still proud of a lot of it, and it's fun to look back and cringe some of the earlier stuff and think about what I would do differently the next time. But just wanted to take this as kind of an opportunity to go through my work and to kind of give you a show and tell of the projects that I'm either the most proud of or they mean the most to me. I don't know exactly what order I'm going to do it in, but I will figure it out. I will just look around, maybe see the things that excite me the most. I guess that's what I'm going to do. So I think I will start out with one of the last projects that I did. This was for a final for one of my main design classes that I took, and we were asked to prep for senior project basically, but I had done senior project the semester previous. There were like 7 of us who had to take an extra semester due to scheduling conflicts and whatnot. But so we were asked to try to do something that we haven't done before, do something a little more experimental. And I decided to use a 3D printer. I've been doing 3D modeling for quite some time and even before college. And so I thought that that would be kind of fun to make some creations and bring them to life. And I had been thinking a lot about relief sculpture and how interesting that was to me. So I used a resin printer to print these little guys out. I drew sketches of all of them beforehand, and then I 3D modeled them in Nomad Sculpt, and then I hand painted them and put them on this little board just for display. It was fun, but the resin printers are so messy and kind of inconvenient that I don't think that I would use it again. Yeah, proud of that one. Maybe I'll start with my 3D work. I'll do my 3D work. Next up. Now, this piece was for a 3D art class I took 5 years ago, my first real semester of college. It was originally a paper sculpture, and that is gone because paper doesn't really hold up very well for years if it's like taped together and glued together. And so for a 3D visualization class, years and years later, I decided to remake it. The teacher from 5 years ago, he told me that I should think about doing set design. So I don't know, he's kind of a contributor to why I decided to get my degree in design instead of art. So yeah, I kind of picture it as like in a arc viz kind of thing where the scale is ginormous, like people are, a tenth of the size of one of these tiers. It's just cool. Anyway, this is kind of the representation of my move from doing art and then design and now back more to art. I also have a little baby version. This is a magazine that I had made for a publication class. I used my own photography except for the advertisements. And it's a travel magazine, a hypothetical travel magazine. And I used pictures from a trip to Japan, Ecuador, and Missouri and Arkansas. I think it's pretty good. My publication professor, she still uses it as a student example, which is nice. And she let me look through some of the work done this last semester. There were 4 or 5 magazines that did this same thing that I did. So I was inspired by something else, and then I guess I inspired some other kids to do the same. So that was kind of funny to see. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. It's sad that magazines are not done as often. They're not sold as often, but anyway. Next up is another final that I did for that's the fun thing about design finals. We just got to make things. It was never tests, never any tests. It was just make this final thing. And I feel kind of bad because I didn't have to study like so many other majors. I made this little cluster puzzle, and it is a lava lamp. The illustration itself is derivative. I think I found something on Pinterest that I heavily based it off of. I changed it a bit, but not as much as I should have. So I probably wouldn't be selling this. So it's individual pieces cut out with a laser cutter on wood. It's really dusty. Oh, no, I guess I have to put it together again. I didn't think that through. Yeah, man. Okay, it's okay. Oh, no, I'm missing a piece. Oh, there it is. Okay. Anyway, so it's a little puzzle, and I painted it, and there's these grooves in the bubble part, the green, that has these grooves. And my professor was like, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I said it was an accident, and then he was like, "Don't ever say that cool things are an accident. Take credit for it." So learned a lesson that day. Okay, the next thing is a little too big to take down to show, so I guess I will bring you with me. Anyway, so that is a poster, a type analysis poster that compares two different types that are very similar and to compare and contrast. And that is one that I had a lot of fun with, and we did a lot of revisions. And it's kind of, I think, one of the best posters I've made. One of the best techniques that I learned. I took multiple posters that I liked for this specific assignment, came up with my own color palette, and then I would pick and choose the elements from the individual posters in order to make something completely new and original. So pretty proud of that one. I think it turned out awesome, even though there's tons and tons of information on it. Maybe my stickers, my rain stickers. No, not my stickers. I think my stickers are kind of dumb. My menu. Okay, so for this assignment, we were asked to make a menu for a hypothetical Mexican restaurant. We could name it whatever, and then come up with the items on the menus ourselves. So I decided to do 6-point star. That stars are kind of were my thing. I still love them, but I don't know, I might be ending that phase now. But so I was inspired by looking up traditional Mexican art. I made the star. Each point is supposed to represent different regions of Mexico. So yeah, that's what I did. And then I laminated it. I don't know, I think it's kind of fun. It's fun. And then I put little tassels on it. So I don't know, if anybody is ever looking to make crazy menus for the restaurant, I'm your guy. I think it's cool. Anyway, this next one is kind of heavy, literally. And so it might take me a little bit to take it down. It's framed. It was like a gift from my mom to have it framed. Okay. So this was one of my first attempts at still life. And this was during my first semester of college in a drawing class. And they are cans that were hung with string. And I think from my first attempt, it came out pretty good. Some of the cups at their bottoms are a little messed up, but that's okay. And so I guess at the time I was proud enough to let my mom frame it. So that's hanging up on my wall. Yeah. Anyway, so for my senior project, I really struggled with trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. My ideas were a little bit too grand, and I knew that I wanted to do something with storytelling. And so I was planning this big grand, like digital storytelling adventure kind of thing. And my advising professor was very encouraging, but then it got to a point that it was like, okay, you need to decide now what you're going to do and why, and connect it a little bit more with design. During midterms, I was presenting the fact that I have these characters that I'm going to do. I'm going to do 3 of these characters, and then I'm going to do them in different styles to kind of show that good characters are easy to identify regardless of the style that they're in. And they were going to be people originally. One of the other advising professors tried to rein me in, advised me to just do one character in multiple styles to simplify it. And so I was thinking about it, and, weeks later, I kind of put my foot down. I met with my advising professor, gave her the whole plan, and I overheard her talking with the same professor who told me to do only one character. I heard her say, he wants to do 10 characters now. And I was like, oh, she's definitely talking about me. I peeked in and I go, actually, it's 12. And so I did 12 characters in 15 different styles. And here's an example. I did watercolor for this little guy, and I gave them all little names and very reminiscent of Pokemon, I guess. And it was fun, but very commercial. I don't know. It was fun. It was fun. I had a good time. My class presented their projects at the end of the semester for public exhibition for people to see. Before we started our first night to show them, we were walking around and I was showing my board. And at the end of it, my professor, she stops before we move on to the next person. She goes, just so that everybody knows, Jordy did this all in 3 weeks. And I think she was trying to give me a compliment, but really it sounded like I had procrastinated everything, which I sort of had. It was more of a dilemma of not knowing exactly what I wanted to do and how I wanted to show it. But that was pretty funny. So when we presented, there was one particular character that everybody seemed to like, and his name is Kronko. This is one of my paper layerings. I added like this layer on top of all of them and did this gradient that, now that I think about it, looks like gel cells. But anyway, he's a little crocodile named Kronko, and people seem to like him for some reason. Anyway, so that was really rewarding and fun and a lot of work. Oh boy, the people who got my business cards, if they look at my website, they're not going to be prepped for what I'm going to be putting on there soon. Oh boy. Anyway, last, I think that's it before my last thing. 3 years ago, I took a creative perspective drawing class. That semester, I did watercolor for the first time. I did a self-portrait, and they were school supplies, so they were not that high quality. And it was my first time doing it, so it came out really funny. But I liked it. I was like, oh, this watercoloring is kind of fun. In this drawing class, I decided to do a portrait using just a single color. I did a monochromatic watercolor painting. And I think for one of my first portraits, it came out pretty okay. It was based off of like a royalty-free reference photo. Then I found a specific color that was being sold in the art supply section at my campus store that was on sale. So I got like 3 tubes of it, and it was Daniel Smith, like a rose color. And so I wanted to keep doing monochromatic watercolor paintings. And so my second one, we did sort of a skewed perspective. I was getting better at making smoother colors and whatnot. So I feel happy about that one. I think it's kind of interesting. And then for the final that we had, we were doing like a combination of different perspectives. So like skewed and from above is what I did. And so I made this painting, and I used the mat as kind of like reaching under a grate. I thought that came out pretty cool. And so that's kind of like where my love of watercolor started. But that was 3 years ago. And so I hadn't been making really any watercolors since then. And now that I am making this change in my life, I want to get back into watercolor. And so this morning I actually got back into it. It's not great. It's been so long since I've like drawn anything, and it's been a long time since I've watercolored. I'll get it. I don't know if I could say that it's finished and just be done, but it's not. But anyway. Okay. I don't do fan art like ever. So oh gosh, it's kind of embarrassing. But this is, I guess, my first attempt of doing fan art since I made like Pokemon drawings in elementary school. So I only did it. I've only put like 2 or 3 hours into it. So started with a sketch, did watercolor over it. I watched a few videos on some new watercolor techniques, and I think it's coming along okay, I guess. It's from you know what it's from. You've got to know what it's from. Anyway, moving on. I think I want to keep going into watercolor, exploring more, learning more, getting better, I hope. Yeah, I'll get better. I'm getting better every day that I practice. I think that especially now we are moving into this era where people are valuing physical media more than they have for many years because of generative AI. I want to make more physical art, except I do completely understand making digital art because of cost and efficiency. And so I probably will do a lot of digital art as well, but maybe the pieces that I like the most or people like the most, I can use those as practice. There's something about watercolor that just speaks to my soul. So moving forward, I am leaving this all behind, and it's bittersweet and it is a little sad. It's going to gather dust, but I want to close the chapter on this part of my life, and I want to move forward, and I want to decorate my new space with new art and new work, and I don't know, I want to find myself again. I want to stop being so scared of any attempt at realism. Like, I've been so scared to do anything real. I think for multiple reasons. I'm scared of it being too deep and too serious and too genuine. And if you're being sincere and you don't do it good enough, I think people are more likely to cringe at it. But you just have to push through it and get better. So that's some of my work. That's my favorite work that I've done. And I'm excited to see what I'll do next. In the works right now, I've got 5 storylines that I've narrowed down. I've written a big long list of different topics that I think that I could relate to and hopefully other people could relate to. And I narrowed it down to 5 that I really, really am excited about. And so I will be developing those storylines and those characters. And I want to make art. I want to write stories. And I'm doing it. I'm starting now. And the next time you see me, I will be somewhere else with my friends. And I don't know, if you see me with them, you'll see a different side of me, I guess. I'll be happy. I will be happier. And that's all. Thanks for watching.